If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
Alright, let's go to the air tab now. The base air unit is the Interceptor. And the Interceptor, the Boeing P-26, is the base of every Air Force. It is the base of every play style. You should always have interceptors because your interceptors, they will protect your airspace. And they deal 6 hit points against aircraft. And it is extremely important to have them. You don't want to get attacked by bombers. You don't. You don't want your buildings taken down, your troops being bombarded by bombs. Spare yourself the trouble, just produce interceptors. Always. No matter what your doctrine is, no matter what your strategy is, make those interceptors. That being said, they're very fast. They have 432 speed. That is great. They have a range of 250, even in level 1. And when you upgrade them, their speed increases, their attack increases, but their range also increases, so that's great. They are an anti-air unit, an aircraft, and they are carryable. What means carryable? Interceptors, they can land on aircraft carriers. These planes are amazing, always make them. They are the key in gaining air superiority. They are best used to fight other aircraft or scout an enemy position. They can also help with revealing and tracking down stealth units. They don't deal a lot of damage against land units. Don't use them to attack land units, okay? But they deal 6 hit points in attack and only 4 in defense. So the attacker will always be in the advantage. But bear in mind, when you attack, the defender always gets to defend first, only then you attack. It's very important with planes, because if the enemy has enough anti-air value to take yourself out, your planes are gonna be shot down without single damage dealt. Please keep that in mind, it's very important. You need an aircraft factory, obviously. You can uncover stealth units of the same and lower level. You need an airport to fly, and you can land on aircraft carriers. That's basically it. They're very cheap. You should make a couple of those already on day 1, because Allies Doctrine, they get tactical bombers at day 1. So if you have a neighbor that has Allies Doctrine, you better make those interceptors, man. Spoken of tactical bombers, let's go! This is the best bomber you have in Call of War. They're slower than interceptors, but they're still way faster than any land unit. There's not a single land unit that can outrun planes. Forget it. You should always have them. They have a range of 400. It is crazy. They deal 4.5 hit points versus unarmored units. Those are the perfect play in early game, but also later on. They are anti-unarmored aircraft, carryable. Also these ones, they land on an aircraft carrier. Tactical bombers are offensive airplanes that can be most effective against unarmored targets. Their high mobility can be used to destroy unguarded units or to support a ground assault. You deal 4.5 against unarmored targets, but also they're very good against light armor with 3.2. And as in the early game, players only have unarmored and light armored units. This is the plane you want. This is the plane that can make a difference. So you need an airport to fly, of course. They can land on a carrier. They're not that expensive, but I mean, they cost obviously a bit, but not that expensive. So there's nothing holding you back to mass produce those babies. The counterpart of the tactical bomber is the attack bomber, and those are the units that are specialized in attacking heavy armor. If the tactical bomber would be the bride, then the attack bomber would be the groom. They are a perfect match together. Speed of 414, they're a bit faster than tactical bombers. They have a smaller attack range though. They have an attack range in between interceptors and tactical bombers. They are anti-heavy armor aircraft, also carryable. They can land on an aircraft carrier. Attack bombers are offensive airplanes that are most effective against heavy armored targets. Their high mobility can be used to destroy unguarded units to support ground assaults. They deal 4.8 against heavy armored units. And also they're very good against light armored units, 3.8. So use them to attack those self-propelled artillery stacks. You have nothing to worry about. But be careful of those self-propelled anti-air. Those babies can hurt you. Same again as the other ones, nothing special. Then we've got the Flying Fortress. We've got the Strategical Bomber. They deal 15% damage to buildings. Those babies, they can knock down anything. Perfect to take out bunkers. They have an extremely large range of 700. Unfortunately, due to this, they cannot be escorted with interceptors. They have a slower speed, 315. They are basically a sitting duck for interceptors, unfortunately, and for this reason I don't use them often, but they can really turn the tide against a player that is sleeping. You can knock down all his buildings. He's gonna be economically paralyzed. Anti-structure aircraft, they cannot land on a aircraft carrier, nor do they need. They can just fly over the ocean, especially if you can take an island in between and build an airbase there. Strategic bombers are offensive airplanes best suited to destroy buildings while also dealing moderate damage to province morale. So they just destroy a player's economy, to be short. They have a huge range and high endurance, but they are not prepared for fights with interceptors. Unfortunately they're not, so be aware of that. Still a very good unit. They're expensive, but they are totally worth it if they are able to finish their mission. And then finally the Naval Bomber. These babies are deadly, extremely deadly. You always have those players, they don't escort their land units on sea. When they're on a convoy, Naval Bombers, they're gonna wreck it. Naval Bombers, they're gonna wreck any convoy unit. These babies, they're gonna give you such high kill death ratios. You should always ever make them. If you have a coastline, they deal 7 damage versus ships. So convoy units with low HP, you get the picture, they're gonna get smashed. Anti-stealth, anti-naval aircraft and carryable, they can land on a carrier. They are anti-stealth, so you can use them to scout those subs. Naval bombers, they're gonna wreck those subs. Naval bombers are best used to attack ships and reveal and destroy submarines. When operating from aircraft carriers, they can protect their fleet and scout ahead. Very important, you should use them to protect your coast. You should have them when you prepare a large-scale invasion. They are weak against an air attack, so you should protect them with interceptors. They deal 7 damage against ships, 5 damage against submarines. These babies are just the dream unit for any player who wants to have a high kill death ratio. So yeah, that is it about air. Although there is one more air unit, and for this I'm gonna jump straight to the secret tab. A bit weird, but we've got the Flying Bomb, which is also classified as the air class. Which is more important is the rocket fighter right over here. This is a extremely fast unit, 828 speed, 22 attack versus aircraft. If you thought interceptors were good, forget about it. These babies, they're even better. However, they have a big disadvantage, it is their low range. As good as they are, they're not very practical due to their small range. You need to build a lot of airfields to operate these bases, and they're not gonna be able to catch up with your land forces. However, they are perfect to protect your core provinces against air attack and strategical bombers. But another inconvenience is they cannot land on aircraft carriers, so be aware of that. But they are crazy good. Versus airplane, 11 damage, 10 in defense. But they even get better in a level 2, which is their maximum level. They deal 36 damage. 36 It is crazy. 1100 speed, 300 range. I mean, these babies are deadly. They're so crazy fast. You can take out a stack of 10 interceptors in the blink of an eye with these babies. Also on defense, 18 damage. It's crazy. If you compare this with interceptors of maximum level, I'm gonna go all the way back. This is for Allies Doctrine. Even interceptors, completely researched, deal 28 in attack and 19 in defense. Their stats, they come nowhere near rocket fighters level 2. So I let you decide what you use. Personally, I find interceptors way more practical due their large range. They can easily escort your bombers and they can land on aircraft carriers, which I find personally very practical. That's it for the air units.